Tell me, sailors of Sinai, if HaShem wished to warn ye that danger lay ahead, whose voice would you expect him to use? A king? A prophet, perhaps? A rabbi? Would you listen if the warning came from a donkey? A donkey of all creatures, the very animal people mock for being stubborn. The very animal whose name is often used as an insult for somebody behaving foolishly. Yet, in this week's Torah portion, the donkey shall be the one making sense. The prophet shall argue. The prophet shall stubbornly persist. The prophet shall fail to see what stands directly before him. But the donkey shall see. Think for a moment on the absurdity of it, me hearties. A mighty seer shall become blind. A humble beast of burden shall become the teacher. And for a brief moment upon a dusty road, the creature everyone expects to be stubborn becomes the only one willing to stop before destruction. Truth shall come from the mouth no one respects, and the voice no sailor expected shall become the voice that saves a man's life. Sometimes the greatest treasure is not gold or silver. Sometimes the greatest treasure is the humility to hear truth, no matter who speaks it. Cast off the lines, me hearties, for there be treasures in the Torah.
From names once hidden, roots we reclaim. From scattered sparks, we learn our name. Through longest night, the call remains the same. Echo truth, no time restrained. Treasures in the Torah, long proclaimed. Ancient truth becomes eternal flame. By the Torah's light, we chart our way through darkest night to break of day. Across the seas where exiles roam, the written word becomes our home. What once was hidden now is shown, guiding us where truth has grown. From generations, voice in flame, we rise to walk the path again. Avast, me hearties, welcome to Treasures in the Torah. Welcome aboard.
Shalom, me hearties, and welcome aboard once again to Treasures in the Torah. I be your Sephardic Jewish captain, and each week we capture nuggets of truth. Each week we gather here in this humble captain's cabin to search the scriptures for the treasures HaShem has hidden beneath the surface of his word. Some treasures be easy to spot, like gold coins in the sunlight. Others lie buried beneath years of familiarity, waiting for someone willing to dig just a little deeper. And this week's treasure may be hiding in one of the strangest places in all of Torah, a talking donkey. Now, before you dismiss this tale as merely a strange miracle, I invite you to stay aboard just a little bit longer. For beneath the humor, beneath the surprise, and beneath the talking donkey itself, there lies a lesson that every sailor, every captain, every servant of HaShem needs to hear. So steady the helm, keep a weather eye upon the horizon, and let us set sail. But before we study the words of the Torah, let us first turn our hearts toward the word of HaShem. For generations, beyond counting, our people have recited these sacred words, found originally in the Torah. But for generations, for thousands of years, literally, our people have recited these sacred words. They have been spoken in deserts and cities, in synagogues and homes, in times of peace and in times of exile. And today, mi hearties, we shall join our voice with theirs. Please join me in reciting the Shema. If you're able to stand, please do so. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Leolam Vayed. Blessed be your holy name forever and ever. Before we continue our voyage, mates, allow your captain to offer a brief clarification. Several of the treasures we uncovered last week came from Pirkei Avot, also known as the Ethics of the Fathers, a tractate of the Mishnah. And some of you actually communicated with me that you had been following through and doing the homework that I assigned, reading specifically chapter 4 of Pirkei Avot, right? But unlike the books of the Tanakh, in the Torah, which are commonly cited by chapter and verse, Pirkei Avot is traditionally cited by chapter and Mishnah. So thus, when I cite Pirkei Avot 4:1, I am not referring to chapter 4, verse 1, rather chapter 4, Mishnah 1. Each Mishnah is a section of text, paragraphs, almost a page long. This be the ancient traditional method by which Jewish scholars have cited and located teachings within Ethics of the Fathers for centuries. The specific quote I be drawing from may appear somewhere within that Mishnah, which can contain several teachings, paragraphs, layers of commentary, depending on the edition you be using. Therefore, if you open the text and do not immediately find the exact words I have quoted, fear not. Simply read through the entirety of the Mishnah, of that section, and you shall soon uncover the treasure hidden within. Such study has long been part of Jewish tradition, for sometimes the journey to the treasure teaches as much as the treasure itself. So, bear that in mind. Our portion this week comes from Parashat Balak. And there's two portions again this week. And again, the reason they do two portions is simply because there is not enough weeks in the year to coincide with the amount of portions there are in the Torah. So sometimes they are put together, two portions are put together in 1 week. And we are facing another week like this week. So we are putting the portions Chukat and Balak together. So for today's voyage, we shall focus upon Numbers chapter 22, verses 21 through 35. Now again, we're going through the Tanakh, and that is actual literal verses, okay? This passage contains one of the most unusual and memorial encounters in all of the Torah. Yes, as we soon discover, the talking donkey is not the greatest miracle in the story. So we're going to summarize what happens. Let us consider what happens in this portion. Balak, king of Moab, fears the children of Israel. Rather than seeking peace, he seeks a curse. To accomplish this, he sends Balaam, a man known throughout the region as a seer and a diviner. Balaam agrees to travel. Yet along the road, the angel of HaShem stands before him with his swords drawn. 3 times the donkey sees the angel. 3 times the donkey turns aside. 3 times Balaam strikes the animal. Then HaShem performs a miracle. The donkey speaks. Now, my hearties, most people spend their time asking how a donkey could speak, how that could actually be possible. Yet, I believe the more important question that we need to think about is this. Why could the donkey see what the prophet could not? And that question shall lead us to our first treasure. Our sailors of Sinai, for the first treasure comes from Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers. There we read, who is wise? One who learns from every person. Pirkei Avot 4:1. Now again, chapter 4, tractate 1. So you're going to have to read through that whole line of text to get to this actual quote. Pirkei Avot, chapter 4, tractate 1. Who is wise? One who learns from every person. Notice what the sages did not say. They did not say a wise man learns only from kings. They did not say a wise man learns only from prophets. They did not say a wise man learns only from scholars. They said a wise man learns from every person. Balaam possessed knowledge. Balaam possessed reputation. Balaam possessed influence. Yet none of those things made him wise. For wisdom is not measured by how much a man knows. Wisdom is measured by whether a man remains teachable. A spyglass helps a sailor to see further along the horizon, right? Yet if he held the wrong way, everything appears smaller than it truly is. Pride works the same way. It makes our own wisdom appear larger, and everybody else's wisdom appears smaller. The donkey saw danger. The prophet only saw his destination. The donkey stopped. The prophet pressed forward. The donkey listened. The prophet refused. Treasure number 1. The wise learn from unexpected voices. Our sailors of Sinai. It be time for our Sephardic Jewish hero of the week. This week's hero be Rabbi Bahaya ibn Pakuda, author of the famous work Duties of the Heart, known in Hebrew as Havot HaLevot. Rabbi Bahaya understood something many people never learn. A man may spend his entire life studying the world around him, whilst never truly examining the world within him. He may know the stars above. He may know the currents of the sea. He may know the affairs of kings and kingdoms, yet still remain a stranger to his own heart. Rabbi Bahaya wrote, "The first duty of the heart is to examine itself." Now, consider Balaam. He examines Balak. He examines Israel. He examines opportunities. He examines rewards. But he never stops to examine himself. His faithful donkey suddenly refuses to move. Then it turns aside. Then it crushes his foot against a wall. Then it lies down altogether. Yet Balaam never asks, "What is wrong? What does the donkey see? Have I missed something?" Instead, he reaches for the stick. That, me hearties, is often what pride does. Pride stops asking questions. Pride stops examining itself. Pride assumes it already knows the answer. Rabbi Bahaya teaches us that before we can navigate the seas around us, we must first examine the waters within us. For the greatest blindness is not blindness in the eyes. The greatest blindness is blindness of the heart. And that be a treasure worth more than gold. Now, there be another treasure hidden in the story that many sailors overlook. 3 times, the donkey saves Balaam's life. And 3 times, Balaam strikes the donkey. Think on that. The creature is not rebelling. The creature is not misbehaving. The creature is protecting its master, and it suffers for doing so. The Torah could have omitted those details, yet it repeats them. He struck the donkey. He struck the donkey. He struck the donkey. Why? Because the Torah is revealing Balaam's character. The donkey is not the only thing being examined on that road. Balaam is being examined as well. Our sages teach that the principle of Za'ar Ba'ali Chaim is the prevention of suffering to living creatures. The God of Israel takes notice when creatures suffer. The God who made mankind also made the beasts of the field. The God who watches kings also watches donkeys. Have you ever noticed that Balaam never stops to ask why the donkey suddenly changed its behavior? He never asks if something is wrong. He never asks if the danger lies ahead. He never pauses to understand. He simply assumes he is right. When a sailor believes that he cannot possibly be mistaken, he stops checking the compass. And that is when disaster begins. How we treat the weak reveals who we truly are. A man's character is not revealed by how he treats kings. It is revealed by how he treats those who cannot repay him. Treasure number 2. How we treat the weak reveals the condition of our hearts. Our sailors of Sinai. There sailed a captain known throughout the coastlands for his skill. He had crossed dangerous waters. He had survived storms. He had navigated reefs that swallowed lesser vessels whole. And because of these accomplishments, he began to believe something dangerous. He began to believe that he could never be wrong. One autumn evening, his vessel approached a narrow channel between 2 rocky islands. The sea was calm. The stars were bright, and the captain was eager to reach port before dawn. Then the cabin boy spoke. "Captain, I think we're drifting too close to the rocks." The captain laughed. "I've been sailing since before you were born, lad. Mind your duties and leave the navigation to me." A short while later, a helmsman spoke. "Captain, the current feels wrong tonight." The captain frowned. "Hold the course." Then the lookout called from above. "Captain, I think I see breakers ahead." The captain shook his head. "You think you see breakers? I know these waters." The warnings kept coming. The cabin boy, the helmsman, the lookout, even an old fisherman passing in a small boat shouted a warning across the water. "Change course! The channel is no longer safe." But the captain ignored every one of them, for he had stopped listening. Not because the warnings were wrong, but because the voices were not important enough for him to respect. Then came the sound that every sailor fears. The vessel struck hidden rocks. Crack! Timbers splintered. Water rushed into the hull. Cargo was lost. Men were injured, and the voyage nearly ended in disaster. Later, as repairs were being made, the captain sat quietly upon the dock. And at last he understood. The rocks had not been the greatest danger. His pride had been. Balaam's problem was not that HaShem failed to warn him. The warnings came again and again. The problem was that he had already decided which voices were worth listening, which voices were worth hearing. And the one voice that might have saved him was the voice he respected least. Now, my hearts, let us bring this treasure home. For most of us shall never meet a talking donkey. At least not this week. Yet every one of us shall face the same temptation that Balaam faced. The temptation to believe we already know enough. The temptation to dismiss correction. The temptation to ignore warnings because we dislike the messenger. For Avot tells us, who is wise? One who learns from every person. Procure a vote for one. Notice it does not say some people. It says every person. Truth does not cease to be true because it comes from an unexpected source. The Talmud teaches in Sanhedrin 105a that Balaam possessed an evil eye, a haughty spirit, and a greedy soul. And Pekah 5:19 contrasts Balaam with our father Abraham. The disciples of Abraham possessed a good eye, a humble spirit, and a modest soul. The disciples of Balaam possess an evil eye, a haughty spirit, and a greedy soul. The question before us is not whether Balaam was wrong. The question is, whose disciple are we becoming? The Ramban teaches us that there are often realities at work beyond what our eyes can perceive. That truth lies at the heart of this story. For the angel of HaShem stood on the road the entire time. The angel was not appearing and disappearing. The angel was not moving from place to place. The angel was there. The question was never whether the angel existed. The question was, who could see him? And that be a lesson every sailor needs. Sometimes the problem is not that HaShem has hidden the truth. Sometimes the problem is that pride has blinded us to it. The Zohar makes a distinction between spiritual power and spiritual holiness. A person may possess knowledge. A person may possess influence. A person may even possess spiritual gifts. Yet none of these things guarantee holiness. Balaam possessed power, but power without humility can become a dangerous thing indeed. And now, mi hearties, allow me to share a thought. It is not a commandment. It is not doctrine, merely a reflection from my own heart and my own mind after reading through the portion for this week. Many people see the miracle as the moment the donkey spoke. And indeed, that was truly a miracle. Yet I sometimes wonder if another miracle occurred as well. For a brief moment, the barrier between man and beast seemed to fall away. The donkey perceived what the prophet could not. The donkey spoke. The man listened. And for one fleeting moment, upon a dusty road in Moab, we glimpse a world in which creation stands in harmony beneath its creator. Perhaps not unlike the harmony that once existed in Eden, and perhaps not unlike the harmony the prophets tell us shall one day be restored. Whether that reflection be correct or not, the lesson still remains. The donkey was never the fool in the story. The fool was the man who believed that he had nothing left to learn. Before we conclude our voyage, there remains one final treasure. Pekah Avot teaches, very, very humble, be of spirit. I'm going to read that again. Very, very humble, be of spirit. Pekah Avot 4:4, chapter 4, tractate 4. Humility is not weakness. Humility is the willingness to admit that we do not know everything. Humility is the courage to listen. Humility is the wisdom to examine our own hearts before condemning others. Humility allows a sailor to learn from a cabin boy. Humility allows a captain to listen to a warning. Humility allows a prophet to learn from a donkey. Many remember this story because a donkey spoke. Yet I wonder if the greater miracle was that Balaam finally listened. Hashem's warnings often come from places that we least expect. The question is not whether Hashem is speaking. The question is whether we are listening. Final treasure. Humility allows us to hear the voice that pride ignores. Humility allows us to hear the voices that our pride ignores. Strive for humility. Don't be foolish, however, in your humility. There does need to be an element of wisdom when we are taking advice from folks. If someone says to you, go in this direction, and they have never looked at a map before in their life, that also can be a problem. Humility allows us to know the difference, to know that we don't have the final answers. But humility also possesses wisdom and the fact that we don't necessarily have to believe every word that every random stranger speaks into our lives. Because not every voice, not every inkling of knowledge that we have in our head allows us to be on the best path. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishomrecha, Ya'er Adonai panav alecha v'yihunecha, Yesu Adonai panav alecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May Hashem bless you and keep you. May Hashem make his face to shine upon you, be gracious unto you. May Hashem lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Sailors of Sinai, may you never become so proud that you refuse a needed warning. May you never become so certain of yourselves that you cease examining your own hearts. May you possess the humility to learn, the courage to listen, and the discernment to follow his voice wherever he may choose to send it. And may you also have the courage to use this discernment to identify the voices that are leading you straight into the rocks. Until our next voyage together, may the winds in your sails be filled with the righteousness of Hashem. May your compass ever point to his truth. May the captain of creation guide you safely through every storm and every sea. And may the evil urge be tied fast to an anchor and cast into the depths of Davy Jones' locker. Shalom, mi hearties. Shabbat shalom. May Hashem bless you and keep you. May you have a complete, fulfilling, and restful Shabbat. If you like this content, please subscribe, please share, and please leave a comment below if you have any questions that you would like your captain to answer. Shalom, and blessings to you all.